Welcome to Pro Practice, your guide to piano mastery. I'm Josh Wright, and today's tutorial is based on the third musical moment from Sergei Rachmaninoff's Six Moment Musicaux, Op.16. This third one in B minor is one of my favorites, and I'm so happy to be covering this today in this tutorial. I haven't found a lot of instruction out there online, so I hope that this tutorial can contribute to your studies if you are working on this piece and give you some ideas that will ultimately save you a lot of time and give you some extra inspiration to help bring the piece to life a bit more. That's the goal of this tutorial. Before we get started, I thought I would go ahead and play the first page. This is the Henley edition. I highly recommend you all get an urtext edition of this piece so that you know that you're playing from a very pure edition. In this edition, the first page is the first 13 bars. So I'll go ahead and just play through this in case any of you are not familiar with the piece. Okay, and we'll stop there. Also, apologies, I'm overcoming a terrible sickness, so hopefully my voice can make it through this tutorial, but I've been anxious to record this for a variety of reasons. This is a very special piece of music. I think it has all the characteristics of tragedy and heartbreak, but still hopefulness amid that, and that's a good thing to experience during today's turmoil and chaos, politically, geopolitically, with everything going on. So I hope this piece can bring a bit of hope and some light amid the tragedy that we find in this piece. I played this for Susan Duhlmeyer, my lifelong teacher and mentor. She's such an amazing woman, a while ago, and she said, "So what do you think of the recordings that you've listened to?" I said, "There's many great things," and I'm not going to name any names of these recordings because I respect these individuals so much. But there were some pet peeves. That's why I'm not going to name any names. I said, there was many great things I loved about these recordings, but the one thing that kind of drove me nuts is how many people rush through the rests. And she's like, "Exactly." She's like, "That's what I wanted to actually talk about today." So I played it for her, and then she said, "Okay, you're rushing through your rests a little bit." And I thought that was so funny because it's like the one thing I'm priding myself on is, I'm not going to rush through these rests. However, there's a little bit of a caveat to what she was saying. So if we think of whatever tempo you want, I looked at the 56. To me, that feels a little bit fast, and certainly in many of the recordings that I listen to, there are moments where it goes 56 or maybe even higher, but the overall piece has this kind of stasis and this grounded tempo. So let's just think. So we're in common time. We have a pickup beat for the fourth beat. So 4/4 time, common time, key of B minor. So 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1 and a 2E and a 3E and a 4 and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and we just have have a little 3/4 bar there, and then 1E and a 2E and a. What Susan was saying, and we had a great discussion on this, is she said, because you're doing a good job of resolving those a little, it takes a little bit of time to resolve. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and thus your tempo comes down just a little bit, and you have to account for that in the rest. I thought that was very wise of her to point out, because it's really easy to go 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 1 and kind of pick back up the tempo when you're resting. You can't do that because the audience has no point of reference for a rest to speed up the tempo. So whatever you are here, 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1. Make sure that you observe that. There are blatant rushing moments in a lot of recordings. You'll hear or some recordings will even rush through dotted eighths. They'll kind of rush to here and then take time. Based on my 3 brilliant teachers' teachings, Susan Dolmeyer, Logan Skelton, and Sergei Babayan, you don't want to do that. You always want to polarize your dotted values. And so, and that's my personal opinion too. It's not just because of their teaching. I totally agree with that sentiment. What it does is, I've talked a lot about this on the channel, when you allow a long value to hold its full value and maybe cheat it just a tiny bit longer, not adding full note values to that or anything, but just a little longer, and then the short values are at least as short as they are. What that does is that makes your music have more momentum, and it polarizes it and makes it more vibrant. So rather than, we could do, see, just allowing that to move just a little bit. And because I pushed a little bit right there, I can give the time back there. That's this whole idea of rubato, pushing and pulling of time. I'm not going to say too much more on that subject. I'll probably remind you a bunch of times throughout the piece, weight full value here, but I think for this first part of the tutorial, that is the most important thing I want you to remember. Full value on rests, full value on long notes. Don't rush through your rests. Okay, let's take a look at some